From The Decision being aired live on TV to suspicious rule changes, here are some controversial decisions made by the NBA. I have to start with The Decision. You know what I'm talking about. It was a live TV special that aired for an hour, where LeBron James announced that he was leaving the Cleveland Cavaliers and joining the Miami Heat. Now, at the time, LeBron was one of the most sought-after players in the league, and the way he handled his free agency was totally unexpected. By making this announcement on live television, he essentially gave himself the spotlight and became the center of attention for the entire sports world. Some people loved it, some people hated it, but there's no denying that it was a huge moment for basketball. Of course, there were consequences to this decision. People felt like he had betrayed Cleveland and that he was being selfish by joining up with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh in Miami.
What was the major reason for leaving the Cavaliers?
Well, I don't even see it as, it's not like leaving Cleveland is the whole logistic of it. It's about joining forces with the other two guys that I feel like I respect their game the most, and I feel like we have a great chance of winning and winning for multiple years. Like I said before, this is a very emotional time for me. I know it's emotional for the fans and also for the area, and if it was the perfect award, I would have loved to stay.
There were even jerseys from his team being burned in the streets. The NBA also had to deal with some fallout from the decision. There were accusations that the Heat had tampered with LeBron before he became a free agent, which led to a $100,000 fine for the team. They had to introduce new rules about announcements like this to prevent situations like this from happening again. On the other hand, the Miami Heat became one of the most dominant teams in the league.
Go James comes flying in and throws it down. He's got 27 first-half points.
Pietrus forgets to block out, just watching the ball. James takes advantage, gets the running start.
Timeout as James just throws it down. Look how high above the rim.
Winning 2 championships in 4 years. But people accuse them of taking the easy way out by teaming up together and criticize them for creating a super team. Ultimately, time has softened some of the criticism of LeBron's decision, and he returned to Cleveland and led them to their first ever NBA championship in 2016. So LeBron eventually got his redemption moment, unlike Jay Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies. Have you heard about his lenient suspension? The young superstar point guard was recently suspended for conduct detrimental to the team. He was caught flashing a gun on Instagram Live while at a nightclub. And what's worse, this wasn't his first troubling incident this season. He's only missing a handful of games, and then he's back on the court like nothing happened. I mean, think about it. If this had been any other player, would they have gotten off so easily? People say that it feels like the NBA is playing favorites here, and that's not a good look for the league. And let's not forget that Morant has their troubling incidents this season. It's not like this was just a one-time mistake. In fact, many fans and analysts are calling the suspension lenient because it isn't long enough. It seems like the NBA's setting a dangerous precedent here, just like when they decided to go with the lockout season of 2011-12. That's right, the season that almost never happened. The lockout was a result of a disagreement between the NBA owners and the players' union over revenue sharing. As a result, the season was delayed and shortened to just 66 games instead of the usual 82. People said it was all about the money and that the players and the fans were the ones who suffered the most. The players lost out on millions of dollars in salary and endorsements, and the fans missed out on a quarter of the regular season. And let's not forget about the small businesses and arena workers who rely on NBA games for their livelihoods. They were all hit hard by the lockout. But hey, at least we got to see a condensed season, right? Yeah, but it wasn't the same. The players were tired from playing so many games in such a short period of time, which led to an increase in injuries. Plus, the condensed schedule meant that teams didn't have as much time to rest and practice, which affected the overall quality of play. But that wasn't the only controversial decision made by the NBA. I'm talking about the Chris Paul trade. Back in 2011, Chris Paul was a superstar point guard for the New Orleans Hornets, and he was looking to join a contender. The Lakers had a deal to acquire him, but it was vetoed by David Stern, who acted like the owner of the Hornets at the time. Instead, Paul was eventually traded to the Los Angeles Clippers, in a deal that many fans felt was unfair to the other teams involved.
About Darren Collison, he knows the game of Chris Paul. Now that doesn't mean you can stop him, because he may be the very best point guard in the entire world, a guy that can score it, run his team, natural leader, but certainly Collison knows his game.
The Clippers gave up a handful of players, including Eric Gordon, to swap first-round picks in 2014. Meanwhile, the other team in the trade, the Houston Rockets, received Pau Gasol in exchange for Lamar Odom, Kevin Martin, and others. The trade caused a huge uproar in the basketball world, with many fans and analysts questioning whether Stern had the authority to veto the Lakers' original deal, and whether the Clippers trade was fair to the other teams involved. Some even accused Stern of using his power as commissioner to help the league-owned Hornets, who were struggling financially at the time. This changed the course of multiple franchises, and sparked debates about the balance of power between players, teams, and the league itself. Love it or hate it, you can't deny that it was a game changer. This wasn't the only move people were mad at, though. Things got really heated when Kevin Durant made his way to Golden State. Kevin was an iconic player for the Oklahoma City Thunder. He was one of the best players in the league and had a loyal fan base. But in 2016, he shocked everyone by signing with the Golden State Warriors, who had just won a record 73 games and made it to the NBA Finals. Many fans were outraged by Durant's decision, calling it a betrayal of his former team and the entire league. Some even burned his jersey in protest, but others saw it as a savvy move by a player who wanted to win championships. And boy, did he win championships. Durant helped lead the Warriors to 2 straight NBA titles in 2017 and 2018, and he was named Finals MVP both times. He proved to be an integral part of the team, providing scoring, defense, and leadership. But despite his success, many fans still hold a grudge against Durant for leaving the Thunder and joining a team that was already stacked with talent. They feel like he took the easy way out and tarnished his legacy in the process.
You got to start talking, communicating. Kyrie Irving, because of the three-point threat, sells out, and Durant does Durant. Pushing the basketball, clear contact from Korver, knocks down the hoop.
But nothing sparked as much debate as the changes to the All-Star Game format in 2018. Usually, the All-Star Game was always a battle between the Eastern and Western conferences. But in 2018, the NBA decided to spice things up and let the team captains pick their teammates. It was like playing pickup basketball with your friends, except the stakes were much higher and the players were way more talented. Changes to the All-Star Game format caused a few contract headaches for players. Under the old system, players were often incentivized in their contracts to make the All-Star team because it was a huge achievement that came with a lot of recognition. But with the new format, some players found themselves no longer guaranteed a spot on the All-Star team even if they had previously made it in the past. This made some players renegotiate their contracts to remove the All-Star incentives, while others found themselves missing out on significant bonus payments. Now, this decision didn't sit well with everyone. Some fans were all for it, saying it added a new level of excitement and competitiveness to the game. I mean, who wouldn't want to see LeBron James and Steph Curry on the same team, or James Harden and Kevin Durant going head-to-head? Others, however, thought it was a terrible idea, arguing that it took away from the tradition of the All-Star Game. Who knows? Maybe the next call will be the one that finally unites us all. And that's all for controversial decisions made by the NBA.